My first time going out and getting drunk was around 12 years old.
And I was very aware of the situation, and it was something I was trying to protect my kids from.
We didn't see it coming.
We've struggled with it. We've thought of it as a moral issue. We've thought of it as a weakness issue.
We have a fire that's been raging out of control. That fire is addiction.
Nobody can manage it on their own, no matter how educated you are.
The drug epidemic that we're dealing with right now is as life-threatening to all of our children as any disease that's out there.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
American families are facing an alarming rate of substance abuse. The age of usage, and in some cases addiction, is becoming younger and younger. To address the problem, we need to understand the source of the issue. New medical insights show there is more to substance abuse than what you may think.
In the moment, that's what I wanted, that's what I needed, was that, alcohol in me for, whatever reason it may have been, and it altered my reality where that's where I felt that I should have been.
Addiction is actually a biological disorder. It's a medical condition that a certain percentage of our population suffers from, and that most of the time, individuals who begin using alcohol and drugs have no awareness that they're susceptible to this illness, and only when they develop serious symptoms do they then realize, oh my golly, I have addiction.
When it comes to alcohol, for example, about 1 out of 10 who drink become alcoholic, and the majority of those have that genetic predisposition, which just is saying, in general, my brain has a different allergy or reaction to that. Anyone, if they use enough heroin, will become heroin addicted, but some are going to become more so a lot quicker or alcoholic because of that genetic sensitivity.
It's important for parents not to assume that it will not be our issue, because it happens to every family. Addiction knows no boundaries. It's in every cross-section, every socioeconomic level, educational level. It just knows no boundaries.
We know now from brain scans and from all kinds of medical data that we didn't have even 15 years ago, that in fact any psychoactive substance, and alcohol is one of those, it actually rewires the brain. It makes your brain function in a different way. So if you introduce alcohol into that brain when you're an adolescent, that's still being formed, and so it reforms your brain much, much faster than if alcohol's not introduced until you're in your 20s. It makes a world of difference in terms of how addictive and how fast addiction can happen in a child.
Because adolescents are growing and developing, their minds are highly susceptible to the effects of alcohol and drugs. Even small amounts with a young mind can have a great impact. So periods of depression, suspiciousness, paranoia, feeling sort of that sense of I'm detached from my body, I'm losing connection, all of those very aberrant kinds of experiences can happen in a young person very quickly.
I started drinking when I was 12, and it progressed and through high school and all that, and started trying different forms of getting out of myself, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And it wasn't the side effects of just drinking and using drugs. It was I hated myself, and I wanted to die. And as things got worse and worse, I just kept covering up my feelings more and more, and just trying to escape more and more, and everything was falling apart. It wasn't living, and I wanted to live, and that was no way to live. And I was willing to do, at that point, I was willing to do whatever it took to find that way to live.
Education is critically important in being able to detect the signs of early usage. As parents, you are the first line of defense in helping your child avoid the struggle of addiction. As you will hear from many parents and experts, this is not a quick fix.
When I lived in California, I knew what was around us, and I was very aware of the situation, and it was something I was trying to protect my kids from.
Every kid in America today is at risk, and those who live in those comfortable bedroom communities, $500,000 plus homes, go to their nice, private school systems or school systems that everybody want to get their kids into that think they're less at risk, those are the ones that are using more drugs. Those are the ones that are at risk today.
Kids have always used drugs. What we're seeing now, however, is kids starting at a much early age. 30 years ago, if you saw marijuana in the high school, that was kind of a big deal. What we're seeing now is we're seeing marijuana use, alcohol use in middle school as young as 10 years old. And scientifically, what you'll see is that the younger they start, the more likely they are to become addicted. And the earlier that parents get involved in their children's lives, again, we're talking simple things. Eat dinner with your kids. Go to their activities, show interest in them, ask them about their friends, ask them about their activities. But again, don't be so structured that the kids are always gone and out of the house. You want to spend some time with them. These are the kind of things that parents need to do. They need to parent, they need to raise their kids in a proper way so that they don't go out and do these things. As a parent, tough love, setting up rules and expectations is what kids actually need and want. They may not say that, but if you tell them they can't go to a party where there's going to be drugs or alcohol, many of them, you'd be surprised, will say, oh good, now I have an excuse not to go.
We have to realize that there is no one drug talk for kids. It's an ongoing process. And part of that encompasses not only being matter of fact about our expectations of whether they use or not, but being involved in other ways that reduce the risk. Know who their friends are. Be involved in the school. Know who the teachers are. Let them know what the boundaries and expectations are. Curfews, hold them accountable, engage with them.
Yeah, there's four things, parents and grandparents. I emphasize grandparents because I think more and more grandparents are becoming an important factor in raising children, because with two parents working and being so busy, oftentimes grandparents become part of that stopgap to fill in. So the first is you have to learn about alcohol and drugs. You can't be naive. You can't stick your head in the sand and say, I don't need to know. No, you do. You need to learn about alcohol and drugs. You need to know what's out there right now. You need to realize that teenagers are using heroin. Teenagers are using Oxycontin. They're involved in drugs far beyond what we ever thought before. So you need to be knowledgeable.
I think that's the most important part, is knowing that drugs are not the same as they were when we were growing up. They're very different now, the things they're putting in them, the changes they're making to them, how they change the brain chemistry.
Second is you have to talk to your children. Actually sit, and that does not mean lecture. That does not mean judge. It means listen, with the whole goal of understanding. What are they trying to tell you? How do they feel about themselves? How do they feel about their lives?
You just don't know what you don't know. But I think the most important thing for parents is that we have an instinct about our kids. We know our kids. We've known them since the day they were born. We know what they're made of. We know the differences in your kids, how they think, what they do, and just to keep an eye on that, because there's signs out there. There's signs that they're changing. There's signs that they're struggling.
There are all kinds of wonderful teenagers who are not using alcohol or other drugs. They generally don't have a place to go. So having events that are stellar events, that everyone will be talking about at school the next week, that don't involve alcohol, and encouraging your child to have a party at your home. That doesn't mean the parent has to sit in the middle of the party all evening, but having parents at home and around, and having it clear from the beginning that there's not going to be alcohol or other drugs used there, can create another kind of social system.
I don't know if we'd have been able to nip it in the bud if we'd known then what we know now, but I know we would have handled things differently. And I don't know that it would have necessarily gone as far as it has, or had as big an effect on everybody as it has. You just don't know. I mean, hindsight's always, there's that old saying, hindsight's always 20/20. I don't know that it could have been avoided altogether, but I know we've commented to each other a few times. I wish I'd known this 5 years, 10 years, whatever ago, because it would have made a difference.
The behaviors of adolescents can be unpredictable and frustrating for parents. It's hard to know whether it's just the process of maturing or if something is happening that is affecting your child's behavior or interaction with you, friends, school, and other family members.
Yeah, my mom and dad, they definitely knew that there was something up with me. You know, they warned me when I was younger, you know, that you have alcoholism in your blood. You know, just kind of watch it, but there's no really stopping it. You know, I had to do what I had to do, and you know, I didn't really know how much I was affecting them. You know, it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know, and you know, now that I've gotten sober and you know, kind of changed basically everything in my life, I've seen, you know, how much that I really affected them on, you know, a day-to-day basis. As time went on and, you know, my disease progressed, everything was affected in my life. You know, the grades started going, I had to drop out of school, girlfriends and all that. I mean, it was just, I never had a healthy relationship because of it all.
It's about what you see, and you can only know that if you're connected with your child. What about their behavior, their attitudes? Are they suddenly very rebellious all the time? Do they not want to spend time with the family? Mood swings, irritability, angry outbursts? What about their peer group?
My son and I had a really good relationship. He was just kind of quiet at heart, and I had a really nice group of friends. He was doing really well in school. He was involved in sports. He was involved in music. And significant change from 14 to 15. He stopped all of his activities. His friends started drifting away. He started making new friends. And his grades went down. Yeah, significant change. To the point where he didn't graduate from high school. He got his GED about 6 months later. Actually, they had to ask him to leave halfway through his senior year.
We will see when our children aren't doing well. And maybe they're not using drugs, but we still should be intervening because they're not doing well. And if we intervene and we discover that they are using alcohol and drugs, then we need to address that. And we need to not gloss it over. We need to not write it off as, you know, it's just a phase. We need to talk with them about it. We need to monitor. And we have to have clear guidelines with our kids.
Never make assumptions. Unfortunately, too often when you do, there's something right behind you. It's in every family. It's in every neighborhood. It's with all your friends. Maybe not the immediate family, maybe not the immediate friend circle, but everybody knows somebody who's dealing with something.
Far too often, parents are likely to dismiss actions and behaviors in adolescence. As a parent or grandparent or adult caring for a young person, if you think he or she may be abusing substances, the time to act is now. The slope to addiction and serious consequences is slippery and fast.
My mission on a day-to-day basis was to, you know, get out of myself, to get messed up. And I ended up, you know, running with people that had the same goal every day, basically. There was no listening to somebody, you know, trying to call me out on my, you know, I was stuck in where I was, and, you know, it was going to take a whole lot of more suffering for me to, you know, change anything.
If you see changes in them right away, find out what the change is from, get them help as much as you can, and just be on them. And again, don't ever believe that you're their friend. My husband did that, and it backfired on him.
Addicts are very highly manipulative to promote their disease, or it's just a part of the disease. So they're aces at causing the focus of the family to be on them and just creating such disruption, and in the whole family becomes dysfunctional.
Nobody can manage it on their own, no matter how educated you are, how much money you have. Nobody can do it on their own. It's way above you. It can happen to anybody. And if you have that genetic disposition, it's just like any other disease. You don't want to tear up your family over this. And the help is there. People recover, they get healthy, and your family can be healthy again. But you need to go out and get the help.
I didn't see it in the parent manual when way back when. I didn't see that fine print, so I think, I didn't sign up for this. This isn't what I expected. However you want to describe it is, at some point, a very real reaction. You get through that and you go, okay, well, we still got to deal with it, whether we expect it or not, whether we want it or not, we still got to deal with it. So you do. You deal with it. You keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Once you know a child's using, there are rehab facilities and there are people you can talk to. But to talk to an addiction specialist or get into a parent group where people can get to resources. Often you can talk to the high school guidance counselor who may know a lot about adolescent behavior and counseling, but may know very little about really targeting addiction as an issue. And so getting to someone whose expertise is addiction is really important.
Help is available, and there are many places to seek assistance. Check your local directory for substance abuse support and reach out to family, friends, or others for support and recommendations.
Well, you can't really force anybody to do anything, but you can be there with full support when, your child is ready, or, let them know that there are other ways to live, that you don't have to live that way. And, when they're ready, they'll want to change. They'll want to make that change, and they'll want to live, a happy life.
If you call the police department and say, hey, I need help with my child, they will find you help. They know the resources and they will do that.
As a community, we do have a lot of resources. Resources within the school. You may want to reach out to the school and talk with them and see what they have. The Alcohol and Drug Addiction Services and Mental Health Board has a listing of all the various programs throughout the county that are available, both those that are for insurance and for those who have limited insurance. And this is not a criticism of counselors, but you need to know that the counselor is familiar and comfortable with alcohol and drugs. Every mental health professional is not trained in alcohol and drugs.
I hope people watch this video that don't live anywhere near Cleveland. And I hope that churches and other service agencies will know there's got to be a place for parents to go, and there often isn't in a community. Once you know a child's using, there are rehab facilities and there are people you can talk to. But to talk to an addiction specialist or get into a parent group and then can get to resources.
Well, coming to the group has really been such a good thing for me, because I needed to know that there were other people out there just like me, who were going through different but similar situations with their children.
We came to our first meeting not knowing what to expect. And at one point, about halfway through, we looked at each other and went, where's this been? Why haven't we been here before? We wish we'd known about it a long time ago.
I'm not surprised by how many people attend the groups, because having been in education, especially in very challenging schools, I know that there's a lot of problems out there. There's a lot of support in the groups, and it's actually so heartwarming to see the growth in a person from the first time they come to the group to even like 10 meetings later.
What I would say to parents or even addicts, if you can, take that step to those people around you who love and care about you, who you have confidence in, to speak about the issues, whether it's your addiction or your children's addiction, because only in being open about it can we seek healing and find the resources to deal with this issue.
The process of healing or prevention begins with you. Take the first step and learn how you can avoid or delay usage in your family. Through education and commitment, you can help your children and others to be smarter, stronger, and safer.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope it gave you information that will be helpful to you. If it has been, we hope that you will share it with family members, friends, neighbors, and with community groups that you're involved with. While you may have started this video saying "not in my family" as a form of denial, we hope that by now you can say "not in my family" as a determination to do the things that will help prevent addiction and will help keep your child safe.